Scatman's world.
Breaking news. A new wave of scientific thought is sweeping the continent. Today, we're here with Fabian socialist Beatrice Webb.
We're here with Beatrice Webb.
Who will deny that the men of science were the leading British intellectuals of our period?
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Back to you in the studio.
Introducing science fiction. Don't get what positivism or natural selection is. Don't want to be sitting there reading On the Origins of Species by Darwin. Instead, read science fiction. You could be sitting in the submarine Nautilus 20,000 leagues under the sea. You have probably read about it in newspapers and illustrated magazines already. By the father of science fiction, Jules Verne, read about Captain Nemo's great adventure through the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean. When you read this book, you'll feel like you're actually in the submarine. Read science fiction. Be a part of the popularity.
You may have noticed that monkeys look a lot like humans and that the body structures of chickens are very similar to those of dinosaurs. Why is it that these different species share similar traits? Scientists have pondered upon this idea for centuries. Finally, in 1859, Charles Darwin, an English naturalist, solved the problem of evolution and published his work in his The Origin of Species. Darwin was an avid naturalist since his high school life, and his passion led him to explore nature on the Galapagos Islands in his 5-year voyage aboard the HMS Beagle. He saw various finches, each with different shaped beaks. The beaks seemed to allow the birds to carry out their everyday tasks most efficiently. From this, Darwin brought about the theories of descent with modification and common descent. They stated that all organisms evolved from one common ancestor, and over a period of millions of years, natural selection had created the countless species of today. Think of it like this. Say that there used to be giraffes with long necks and ones with short necks. The ones with short necks would be unable to reach the tall trees for food. As a result, they would be less fit for their environment and most likely die off very quickly. This would prevent their genes from being passed on to the next generation. This is an example of natural selection. Just remember that evolution takes a long time. Speaking of time, that brings us to the next topic of this video, Einstein and relativity. Physicists have studied motion and speed for several centuries. Let's take a look at this example. There's a truck moving at 50 miles per hour, and on the back of the truck there's a man who throws a baseball at 80 miles per hour. The man who threw the baseball would observe that the baseball is moving at 80 miles per hour. However, if a man on the side of the road measured the speed of the baseball, he would find it to be approximately 80 plus 50 equals 130 miles per hour. From this example, it can be seen that speed is not absolute, but rather relative to an observer. However, in this time period, all of physics was under trouble. Physicists could not explain how objects can move. A Scottish theoretical physicist named James Clerk Maxwell developed the unified theory of electricity, magnetism, and optics. From his equations, he proved that the speed of light was a constant value relative to everything. In this animation on the left, it can be shown that the light bulb man has moved 1,000 meters in 1 second. From general relativity, it can be seen that light moving to the right moved less away from the light bulb man than did light moving toward the left. Now if we use this information to calculate the speeds of the two light waves, we see that they are in fact unequal, which defies Maxwell's notion that the speed of light moves at a constant rate relative to everything. Therefore, physicists couldn't explain how anything could move. That was until a German theoretical physicist named Albert Einstein solved this problem. He knew that speed was just the derived unit of distance covered over a certain unit of time. Distance was given as an absolute value. Therefore, the only fault in this system was the time portion. Einstein noticed that there was no law of physics that stated that time was not relative. In fact, he proposed that speed was relative only because time was also relative. Let's take a look at this demonstration. One marker shoots a beam of light in a fixed position while the other shoots a beam of light and then moves at a constant speed after shooting the light. In the end, the first light beam traveled 2 light seconds away from the marker after 2 seconds. The second light beam traveled 1 light second away from the marker after 2 seconds. However, Einstein proposed that the moving marker experienced something called time dilation. As objects move, time around them slows down. In this figure, the stationary marker experienced the event as 2 seconds long, whereas the moving marker experienced it as only 1 second. If we look at this, the respective speeds of the 2 light rays match up, and we can now explain that time is relative and slows down for objects in motion.
Charles Darwin and Alfred Wallace had an idea that was quite flawless. Their great theory of evolution in biology started a revolution. Although there was much opposition, eventually their proposition of the gradual process of natural selection was the only one that stood up to factual inspection. Dang! Hecka good! Auguste Comte was a philosopher from France. He suggested that the world is not a game of chance and that human thought developed through 3 stages. The last one positively brought us from the Dark Ages. He developed sociology, the study of behavior. Don't need no God, we can be our own savior. He influenced the thinker John Stuart Mill, only progresso on the flag of Brazil. Dang! Hecka good! Herbert Spencer coined survival of the fittest, but to him it also meant the death of the sickest. Social Darwinism, life is a giant fight, no time to be polite when might makes right. Thomas Huxley in the House, Darwin's bulldog, says we can't descend to the level of botflies and bullfrogs. Mankind is responsible for making ethical choices. When we help each other out, the whole world rejoices. Dang! Hecka good!
Ernst Mach, wrote The Signs of Mechanics, that what you see isn't really what's out there, but what you sense. The real world is outside of your sense.
Dang! Hecka good!
French scientist Henri Poincaré argued that scientific theories don't reflect what is true, but rather what's inside of our minds. Everything's just a construction. It isn't real. Dang! Hecka good! Hans Weihinger later put forth that all of these hypotheses have scientific worth. And what we describe, these possibilities, are just things and parts of the world that we can see. Dang! Hecka good! This led to people thinking, and it changed our views of reality, including the infallibility of truth. And we're all just recording fragments of the truth. Dang! Hecka good! Rontgen opened up the age of the atom. He discovered X-rays while working at home. This radiation scared the heck out of his wife, made her scared for her life because she saw an X-ray of her hand and realized that we all have skeletons walking inside of us. Dang! Hecka good! Then Becquerel discovered that uranium also emits radiation. Dang! Hecka good! And he trained the 2 Curies, Marie and Pierre, who also worked with radiation, discovered polonium and radium. And then for a while, people would drink radium water because they thought it was good for them. But then later, Mary died because of radiation exposure. Dang! Hecka good! J.J. Thomson discovered the electron and put forth the plum pudding model, where electrons are scattered across a field of positive charges inside the atom, like plums in plum pudding. Dang! Hecka good! Then Rutherford explained radiation through nuclear decay and set forth the final push into the atom age. Dang! Hecka good! Then Max Planck showed that energy is quantized. All energy can only exist at certain levels, which are so small that it seems like one continuous spectrum. Dang! Hecka good! And then Heisenberg came up with an uncertainty principle. Says you can't find the momentum and position of an object at the same time. Dang! Hecka good! So when Heisenberg saw a door and saw its position in space, he didn't have the momentum to get through it anymore. Dang! Hecka good! Albert Einstein, he was real cool. Yo, he started up and said that time and space were exactly the same thing. And then later, he went forth and came up with his great theory. E equals mc squared. Energy is equal to mass times the speed of light squared. But at first, when he heard about all these quantum mechanics, he was just like, whoa, God does not play dice with the universe. Dang! Hecka good! But then Niels Bohr, creator of the model of the hydrogen atom, walks in through the door that we mentioned before, and he's just like, Einstein, don't tell God what to do. Dang! Hecka good! These rhymes today were so fresh, they belong in the produce section of the supermarket. Dang! Hecka good!